It's a natural process, but the way it works is the energy is there, and you feel it intensely, and it's painful and it's work. But then when it releases, when it frees itself, it's not there anymore, and you feel the space. And the more you let that happen, the more space there is, and the more you can just breathe.
Hello, Laura.
Hi, Ilona. Nice to see you.
Great to be with you, as always. So happy that you accepted my invitation to share with the listeners.
Thank you for inviting me. This is a nice opportunity to talk to you.
And I would like to start with a little introduction. How would you say, how would you describe yourself? Okay, I don't know.
Oh, you started with the most difficult question, Ilona. I can share a bit of my experience on the path, maybe.
Please, yeah.
So what's interesting about my story is that I had absolutely no contact and no interest with anything related to spirituality until last year. So I basically spent the first 37 years of my life completely oblivious to anything to do with spirituality. I was brought up Catholic, so to me, that's what spirituality meant. I just associated religion with spirituality in my mind, and I had no idea of the real meaning of spirituality. And it was 2 years ago, I was going through this critical period. I just had basically an existential crisis of finding myself in a situation where I thought, well, my life looks pretty much like I want it to be. I have the job that I want. I'm living in the place that I want to live, but still I'm feeling this void, and I didn't know what it was. And I had no one to talk about it with. So I was basically just lost suddenly. And then this friend of mine told me about ayahuasca. She had participated in a ceremony, and then I thought, well, I'll give that a try. And it felt really important. Before I did that, I felt like, okay, this has got to help me, because I don't know what else will. And then basically that's where it all started. So that was a year and a half ago. And I participated in this one ayahuasca ceremony, which was completely crazy. It was basically like opening up Pandora's box. And I just saw that everything that I had always believed was completely wrong, and that the spiritual aspect of life, which I had completely neglected, and I didn't think it was important. I believed in science, and I believed in rational things. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, this is not at all what life is about. And so that was like a huge opening to this reality. And then after the ceremony, I basically started seeking. Okay, so I was like, okay, I saw this huge thing, and what does it even mean? I saw it, and it's real, but I don't understand it. and I started reading and looking at videos on YouTube, following different teachers, and meditating a lot. And I had no one, and I still have very few people. I mean, I have only just one friend right now who is also on the spiritual path.
Mhm.
But other than that, there is no one in my environment that I can talk with about this kind of stuff. So right now, it doesn't matter. But at that time, it was it became difficult because my friends were very patiently listening to me, but they got to a point where they were like, yeah, okay, whatever. um, and yeah, and then I started feeling this need for guidance. And that's where you come in the story. So basically, at some point, uh, after being, just reading and looking at videos for a few months, I stumbled upon your website, Liberation Unleashed, and I wrote on the forum. And this was, interestingly, almost exactly a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah, which is pretty cool to think
Uh-huh.
like, oh my God, so much has happened in a year. And yeah, and then you and I exchanged a few posts on the forum, but not much, because I quickly saw that I could book a session with you, and then I did that and started a process with you, which I am extremely grateful for. And basically, through deep looking, I've been discovering more and more, or uncovering, maybe it's a better word. And then in December last year, I had a so-called awakening. I mean, I don't really like using that word because I think people imagine all sorts of things, but I would say I saw that this Laura character that I took myself to be was just not there. It just didn't exist, and it felt like a death in a way. Or I remember feeling grief after I saw that. It was like, wow! It was like saying goodbye to someone that I really cared about. Um, but that lasted for like a day. This grief that I'm mentioning, and that was it, really. And then life just went on, and I have to say the most interesting thing is that I thought, and I think many people do, as a seeker, you think that there's this goal to get to awakening, and then once you get there, you're good. This is, or at
Mhm.
least this is how I thought of it. It's like, okay, I just have to get there, and then I'm good. Um, and then when that happened, I do remember I had a period about, I don't know, a month, maybe, and everything was just beautiful. And then I thought, like, oh, okay, I made it. I'm here now. I'm just going to lay back and enjoy life. But that was not the case at all. It was just this month of not complete bliss, but pretty much it was very beautiful. But that was it. It just passed like everything else, and then I realized, oh, there's a lot more work to be done. And so that's probably the main thing that I would say to seekers, like, okay, the mind does tell you, okay, get to awakening, or at least this is what happened to me. Awakening seems like a really important thing to get to, like a goal, but that's not the truth. That's not how it really works. Awakening, or what we call awakening, I don't know. It's really nothing. It's just, it feels more like a beginning, actually. The beginning of something bigger. And then it starts becoming more and more mysterious and weird and also very interesting.
Oh, beautiful. You know, I was listening to you, and it's very similar to my experience. First time I saw this, that life is not what I thought it was, so the reality is not what I was told. I don't know, it was maybe 2003 or something, on magic mushrooms. And since then I was seeking. That was the beginning of seeking. I wanted to find that place of no mind, of just being, which felt really nice. So I was on my own like you. I didn't know any spiritual teachers. I didn't know anything about retreats or books even. I was reading just random books, whatever was coming to my hands. I think Osho, well, some other books, but nothing like, that is available here today, that we see so many books and it's all talking about the same. So I also felt alone in that, like you.
Yeah.
It's
And how did you or did you find at some point someone to talk to who was experiencing something similar, or you found a teacher, or how did that
I
change
didn't find a teacher. I didn't even think about a teacher. I had a friend. Her name was Maria. She was from Portugal or something. Yeah,
Okay.
so we could talk about some books and crystals and, not unicorns, but pretty close. So I was looking for enlightenment. I knew that word, but I didn't know what that is or where to find it. Like tarot cards, maybe, I don't know. I was just very lost. I used to try different things. I liked experiment with sound. So that was like my journey, and I didn't refer to anyone else's journey. But I knew there is something to find because I saw it. So I was on a mission to find it.
Right.
I never had any guides or anyone. I was completely lost at some point when I read these books that were like brainwashed me. And I know that because I read the book 7 times, trying to understand what they are saying, and I couldn't get it. I'm not going to mention it because people are going to go and read it.
Yes.
But very interestingly, the same guy, the author of these books, sent a newsletter once, and he said, "Oh, there's this guy, Jed McKenna, read his books." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll read these books." Jed McKenna, Spiritual Enlightenment. I read it and I thought, wow, this guy recommends this book. He didn't read it. He couldn't have read it because it's just so against what he's teaching. But that was the beginning for me, for really questioning what is going on in a more focused way. Like I knew I had to find answers within me. Nobody else can give me answers.
Yeah.
So that was really a start for me, Jed McKenna.
Okay. I've never read him. Yeah, but I think for me it's actually been, and maybe you'll agree with that. I see it as a blessing that I didn't know anything about any of this stuff before, that I didn't have someone else's discourse interfering my seeking, or I because I don't know, I've heard from people who have been seekers for many years because they fall prey to different I don't know, gurus or practices or communities or whatever. And yeah, that seems like a difficult place to get out of, when someone tells you I have the truth and you really believe it, and then you're there. And I was fortunate enough to not go through that. I just for whatever reason, I just found very quickly the kind of stuff that I needed to hear to just focus on myself. And I saw very clearly, okay, I really need to focus on what is going on for me. And I just kept coming back to that. Okay, I just heard this, I just read this, but can I really see this in my own experience or not? And that's really what this is all about.
Right. I agree completely. That's what it's all about. It's just looking into own experience and finding out the truth by yourself, for the love of truth. It's nothing else. That's why I like Jed McKenna, because I even had a screensaver on my phone saying, sit down, shut up, figure out what's truth until you know. That was my every day looking at this, reminding myself to sit down and shut up and stop looking at other people's confusing ideas. Yeah.
Right, that's a good one. Yeah. And I mean, it's not that we as a seeker, you hear these things, right? So teachers are saying this, look into yourself, don't look for answers anywhere else. But when you're still seeking, you don't really believe it. So you hear it and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I have to look within myself. But I don't really know where to look. And it's just, it's, yeah, you're just completely lost. And so I do think that maybe this is why many people get stuck in this phase for a long time. It's because they're like, I can't possibly know the truth. And the truth seems like something so mysterious and yeah, that only certain people, special people, have figured it out somehow, and we need to learn from them. And I feel like that's just the general feel when you're a seeker. It's like how can I know anything? I don't know anything. And the problem with that is that you're missing the exact point, which is, yeah, you don't know anything exactly. So look at that. Stay in that place of I don't know anything, and then be open and listen. That's all. That's literally all you have to do. It's like, okay, I don't know anything. Yeah, that's right. I don't know anything. So just, look around, feel, listen, and be open. And I feel like life just shows you the way. But it's not like suddenly someone's going to knock on your door and say, okay, follow me. This is the path. And then you go, right? It's just the mind just imagines so many different things, right? But it's something very, very simple. That it can be simple things. So, for example, I remember after I had finished the ayahuasca ceremony, and I was really in this place of just listening and being like, okay, what is this? And I also have to say I experienced a lot of fear for a long time because it was just completely I was completely shaken up in everything that I had ever believed before. So it was like, okay, what is going to happen now? And I literally thought at first, okay, am I going to start seeing ghosts? Like, are there monsters under my bed? That like it was really that kind of fear that I was experiencing. Because it was like opening the door to the complete unknown. And then I was like, anything can come out of there, and I have no idea. So I was in fear for quite a long time. And to anyone who is experiencing that kind of fear, because for me it was very difficult, I would say you are not going to experience anything that you're not already experiencing. So it's not like seeing that this world as you had thought of it is not real, it doesn't mean that it's suddenly going to change into something else. And that's the beauty of it. It's just what you keep on experiencing is exactly the same stuff. Nothing changes, but what changes is your perception, or the way you experience what is going on. And I don't know what my point was, but
yeah, that was very good point, actually. Yeah, because there can be fear of disappearing, or fear of not existing, or for me, it was fear of going insane. I thought, if I see this, I'll go mad. Right. I don't want to go mad, so why would I see it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. But as you said very nicely, that nothing changes. It looks different, meaning our narrative about it is different. The narrative in the head, the way we describe it in the head is different. Same stuff, different description from a different place.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a very sound note to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember feeling when I first had like this big opening in December, for a while I felt like Alice in Wonderland. So I think that would be my way of putting it. It's like when you see it, it's like, oh, I've been in Wonderland all this time and I hadn't noticed. Right? So it's not like suddenly you're in Wonderland, is that you have always been in Wonderland. You just hadn't seen it, or you hadn't noticed for whatever reason. But yeah, so I think that's something that as a seeker, I would have wanted to be more aware of. Just like, okay, don't worry, nothing's going to suddenly change. And or for you, like if you had known that, okay, you're not going to go crazy, it's okay, this is a natural process. I think that's really important. I feel like the whole process of awakening is just really literally a natural process. It's like anything else that's unfolding in life in general. So it's nothing mystical or magical. It is, but it's just as magical as anything else that's happening here. It's not of a different kind of magical. So another comparison that I thought of once was being pregnant and having a kid. So that's not an experience that I've had. I don't have any children, but I can imagine that when you're pregnant, there's this little thing, this chemical reaction that happens, and all of a sudden you have a person growing inside of you. I mean, that's like, how crazy is that if you think about it? And then you give birth and your life changes completely in ways that you had not expected. And that's like insane if you think about it. But it doesn't seem, or it doesn't sound special to anyone because we're so used to it. It's like an everyday thing. It's like, yeah, okay, this person is pregnant, she had a baby, whatever. But it's literally, if you think about it, that's the miracle of life. It's like out of nothing, there's suddenly this new life, and then the world changes for that person, for that family, and it's something incredible and magical. And the I would say awakening is probably the same. It's that kind of phenomenon going on, like some natural phenomenon that takes place, like suddenly you see, when I went to this ayahuasca thing, it was like getting pregnant with this, with this seeking or with this desire for something. And then all sorts of stuff start happening to you. And then that changes your experience in a drastic way, in a way that you can't predict beforehand, just like when you have a kid, probably. But it's really just as natural. It's just a natural process. It's just that it seems to the mind like something weird or not familiar, just because we don't hear of it as much as, someone having a baby.
True. Don't hear about this as much. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, this awakening is just coming back to being natural. Resting into what is natural. And it's always here. But when we are so preoccupied with thoughts, have to figure life out, we miss life.
Yeah.
Like when you are walking down the street and you're looking at people and you see that some of them are here, they are present, and some of them are completely lost in their thinking. Like they have a cloud over their head and they're not seeing life. They are thinking about something, which is life too. But the attention is on thoughts, about thoughts and stories and whatever is going on. They are not present. So being present is natural. So when the thoughts come down, when all these patterns play out, and then here we are, we can live from being present, from being natural. Mm-hmm. And for me, this is the awakening now. Every moment we can be lost in thoughts, so we can be present. And so simple.
Yes. I mean, so simple and yet so difficult, right? Because it's not really like we can decide, okay, I'm going to stop getting lost in thought and I'm going to start living now. It doesn't look like that exactly, because I do feel like it is a process that takes place over time. So I do feel that time is necessary, and that probably the intention of really wanting to be in that place and going back to being more natural, like you said, is probably necessary, and just trying to remember to open your your attention to other things. So I think maybe at a very early stage, when you're just starting the seeking process, I don't think that you can, or at least in my experience, if I look back, I don't think that I could have, and I tried going like, okay, I choose to be in the present. Okay, I'm here and I'm not going to be thinking. That's just, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It's just, you can think that, and that's good as an intention, but then you just have to start following your own path, really, and start listening and opening up. And then I feel like this stuff starts happening on its own. That was my point when I mentioned the being pregnant and having a child before. It's like it's a process that happens on its own naturally, and you're just there witnessing it. But the important thing I find is just being true to yourself. So don't lie to yourself. I think that's the main thing, really. It's like, okay, what am I feeling right now? What is going on right now? And then say, okay, say, for example, right now I'm feeling sad or scared or whatever. Okay, can I be with that? Because this is what's happening anyway. I'm feeling sad. Okay, so usually what the mind tells us and what society tells us is, oh, don't be sad, don't cry, everything's gonna be fine. Just go to the movies and, you know, get your head off your problems or whatever. And that's not the way this works. So it's like, okay, I am sad. So I own it. I am sad. Okay. Can I just let it be? And then I feel like that's how the unfolding starts happening. Really moment by moment. Okay, what is going on now? And I'm not going to lie to myself about what is happening right now. I'm just going to be with it, not trying to change it because I can't change it. I can pretend that it's not there or try to fool myself, but that doesn't really make it go away. It's just going to be there waiting until you get overfloated with stuff. So okay, can I just be with that? And then the next moment brings something else and something else, and it's always, you know, what's here now, what's here now, and then it's not what was here yesterday or 10 minutes ago, but now, like literally just now. And that's all there is, and that's all I need to worry about, and not what happened yesterday or what's going to happen in the future, or you know, when awakening happens, what is it going to be like? That, you know, you can think about that when it happens. Just focus on now. And that's all you need to do, really. So in that sense, I agree with you that it's simple, that it's just like, okay, what is here now? I'm not going to lie to myself. And yeah, that's how you go step by step.
Very nice. I agree. I think the problem is for the seeker is the hypnosis. Like
the what? Sorry.
Hypnosis. Hypnosis of this idea that I'm in control of my life. And when you are hypnotized, you wouldn't know that you are hypnotized. You wouldn't even question if I'm hypnotized. You just act as if that was normal. And the hypnosis is this belief or idea of controlling life, being in charge of life, or what happens of being in charge of this body-mind system, as if you are a driver of it, as if there is a driver of it. And that hypnosis has to break or be seen through before you can be really questioning what is here now and being with it. Because from that hypnosis, it seems like there is something unpleasant here. I have to run away from that. I have to seek some pleasant state. And I'll do everything I can in whichever way it works for me to escape or run away from fear, anger, despair, loneliness into some happier space, happier, more pleasant experience. And that hypnosis is, in one way, it's natural because we are all hardwired to see pleasure and avoid pain.
Yeah.
But somehow we get confused that, you know, if it's pain or if it's uncomfortable, it's bad. It shouldn't be here. It's my job to fix it. Rather than, okay, what is here now? Let's be with that. So it's easy, all right? When you see it, that there is nobody controlling the experience, but it's impossible while thinking that I need to take care of it, of the suffering, or I need to somehow fix myself, or more likely fix others to feel comfortable.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, of course, but I think that just, you know, thinking back of when I was a seeker, because I think the people who are listening to us are probably in that phase of seeking. And if I just think back to that, I remember reading about and listening about what you just said, and I felt like, okay, how do I do this? I want this, what you just described. I felt like, okay, that this makes total sense to me. I don't control life. I need to just be with what is. But at that moment, the felt sense of just your experience is contradicting these thoughts. Because you are really, right? Like you said, when you're hypnotized, you don't know that you're hypnotized. And because you're making an effort to listen to this and go like, oh, I am hypnotized. Okay, I know that I'm hypnotized. So how do I get out of this hypnosis? You think that you're further away from it, or just because you accept this thought, because it's just at that point it's just a thought, really. I'm hypnotized. That's just a thought like any other thought, really. So, but you think that because you're accepting that thought, then you're good, or you're not going to be hypnotized anymore, or so that's why I personally would put more emphasis on just focusing on every single moment. Not I mean, ultimately what we're aiming for is that, just realizing that we're not in control. But I don't think that it's useful to have that as a goal, to think like, okay, my goal is to realize that I'm not in control. Or at least for me, that's not how it worked, because I just kept failing at that. It's just like, okay, I'm not in control. Okay, so I do, I don't know, I think about what I'm doing, and I can see, I mean, that's important too, seeing that, say, for example, right now I'm talking and these words are coming out of my mouth, and I can see my hands are moving and whatever. At no moment am I planning to do this. I don't have time to think, okay, I'm going to say this exact word or move my hand in this exact way in the next second, right? So that's proof enough that I'm not controlling this. So yeah, there is this seeing that's important, but from seeing that, having this like tiny realization of, oh, okay, I'm not controlling what's going on, to really living it in experience in everyday life, there's a lot that needs to happen. And I feel that's what just happens naturally through a process that takes time and work. I do feel like there's a lot of work, especially just letting everything be is work, because emotions are a big part of what is in every moment in human experience. And like you said, we are hardwired to avoid unpleasant emotions. So actually allowing yourself to be with an unpleasant emotion is a lot of hard work. It's painful. It's hard. It's almost like you're going against this, against this conditioning. It's telling you, no, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to be with this, I don't know, horrible thought that I'm having, or because, it can be emotions, it can be thoughts. So that's why I just, wanted to stress this thing of just, just focus on what's going on right now. That would be my advice to seekers. Like, don't try to plan out, what are my steps towards awakening? How do I get there? Okay, I have to see that I'm not in control. Okay, check. I've seen that. Then I have to do meditation. Okay, check. you know, and it can become a bit like that. And I think the if you want to go about it as effectively as possible, my advice would be focus all the time in what's going on now. That's it. Like that would be my approach.
Great. Perfect. For me, there was this one question that broke everything down. And that was the question, is the Ilona running the show? That was the question, is this character controlling life? And it was asked seriously, with wanting to know the truth no matter what, past that fear of going insane. And it was seen that there is no Ilona running the show. So with that, all the question of control fell away immediately in that moment.
Right.
And I was, check, what's next? But that was the opening, the true opening. Like really seeing this absence of a controller. It's not that I am powerless or I had control, now I lost it. It's not like that. For the mind, it may seem like this. So what if I lose control? Maybe I'm going to go on the street and jump in front of the bus. You know, I don't know. I lost control. It's not like that. It's just seeing that the imagined character, what I thought myself to be, that seemed what that was in control of life, is not real.
Yeah, that it was never in control.
It was never there to be in control or not to be in control. It was never there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the control is one of the stickiest questions. Really. Again, it comes from the hypnosis that I talked about. Yeah. And as you said, there is a lot of work, and it's not just emotional work. It's also work with beliefs, and also including the body.
Right.
It's all of it. And life unfolds and shows you the next step, whatever that is. And okay, for you, it was like this. For me, it was like that. For somebody else, it's completely different. And every one of us have to go through our own exploration and our own experience. And us talking here, we can only give suggestions that may bring focus more into your own experience. And trusting that. Yeah, we may give some advice and really good advice, but it's just words, unless they are taken seriously, and unless there is a readiness or there is this start of seeking. Without the start of seeking, like for you was ayahuasca, for me was magic mushrooms. That was the start of seeking. Without that, you know, you can't even question what's going on here. Everything is just the way it was, the way it's always been.
Yeah.
But at some point, the lightning strikes and says, okay, wake up. Wake up.
Yeah.
And we cannot not follow that. Once that lightning strike is here, we're already done. We're already cooked.
Yes.
It's just a matter of unfolding through many different ways, meeting different people and talking and looking and searching. But it's already done. It's already done.
Yeah.
So chill. It's already happening. You can't step out of that, right?
Yes. Yes. That's a very good point. Yes. It's like once you start, there's no, like for me, once the lid was open, there was no way of putting it back. And I did try.
You tried?
I mean, not really, but yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, there was a lot of fear for me for a long time. And in that sense, I did have some moments when I was like, what am I doing? This is I'm going into this I don't know, dark tunnel that I don't understand. And can I just turn around, go back? Like, never mind. I'm just going to go back to my old life, which wasn't making me happy, but at least I knew what it was. And I knew what I was. Yeah. So at some point that did seem like, okay, that this was a mistake, but it was too late. So you get to a point where that's it. It's too late. So there's only going forward. So you can, and then I think that is a good point to know, because that's one aspect or one phase of resistance. You can even have resistance to your own process, even if you know that deep down this is what you want, because for me there was no point in trying to I don't know, focus on any other aspect of life. I mean, I already knew I was functioning just fine in work, with family, with friends, in everything, but I knew already that it was not about that. So there was no way that I could bring myself to just focus back on that and pretend that that was the most important thing. There's no way I could do that. I already know that it's not about that. So yeah, that not resisting the process. And I feel like that's part of just being true with what you're feeling in a specific moment, and not lying to yourself. Is like, okay, I'm feeling this is uncomfortable, and it will be uncomfortable, and it keeps on being uncomfortable for a long time. I mean, for me, it's still, all this stuff is fairly recent, and I can see that it keeps unfolding more and more and more and more. And I am in a point right now where it's often pretty uncomfortable for different reasons, not the same reasons that I was feeling when I was seeking, but it's just because it just keeps unfolding, and it keeps becoming more and more and more mysterious. So on the one hand, it can be uncomfortable, but on the other hand, it's also fascinating. It's like, wow, this is interesting. I was not expecting this or that. And yeah, being aware of that resistance of, okay, I want to go back, I want to control. Yeah, that resistance is going to come up, but you can keep fighting and then feeling more uncomfortable, or just trying to relax and go with the flow, which is happening anyway. And I do feel like this giving up on trying to find another way or a way out or whatever is a big part of it. It's like, it's just, and it also happens at every moment. It's not that I decided today, okay, I'm not going to fight it anymore, and then it's okay. No, the resistance will keep coming out. Everything keeps coming up, and then you just you notice it. Okay, I'm uncomfortable. I don't want this to happen right now. Okay, I'm going to focus on that right now, and then slowly, bit by bit, you start relaxing and easing more into it, and it starts becoming easier too. So it pays off. It pays off to just try to be in the flow, because then it starts becoming easier and easier, and then you start seeing what it's all about. It's like, okay, this easiness in life of just being able to accept whatever is happening without resisting it. This is peace, and this is what I was looking for. So
Yay.
so yay. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably also another point that I would think it's really important about peace, is that the mind, I feel like this is not just for me, but probably a lot of people have this wrong image of what peace looks like. So when I was seeking, I felt that I wanted to get to a state of peace, but I thought peace was blissful. So I thought, like, okay, I'm going to get to this state where, you know, everything is just wonderful, and, you know, I'm like ecstatic all the time about life, and that's just not at all what peace looks like. That's a state, and we can experience that, and I've experienced blissful states many times, but they just go away also, like the terrible depressing states also go away. So it's just a state. But peace is just, it feels like neutral. And it's impossible to imagine how good neutral feels when you're not feeling it. Because also the idea that we have is just neutral, that's boring. What do you mean just neutral? That has to be boring. And it's not. It's peaceful, and it feels like being home, and it feels like just, it's just impossible to describe, but that's what we're really looking for when we seek. That is what we're looking for. It's not bliss, it's peace.
That's it. Yeah. And there are the words of calmness. At the same time that calmness is alert, it's alive, it's rich, and full, but it's calm, it's content.
Yeah.
And I think the problem these days for the seeker is because there are so many speakers and people on YouTube everywhere talking about this. But it's not included in that speech about peace and the slideness, how much work it is, how much terrible emotional work there may be, how difficult that is, how painful that is to let go of all these energies, let's call it that are in the way of peace. Because the peace is already here. It's just that we don't see it because of all the turbulence in the mind, in the heart, in the body. All these ideas about spiritual stuff. That's turbulence. And it's painful to look at them.
Yeah.
And let go.
Yeah. And yet that's the only way that we clear them out, or that we let them clear themselves out, because we're not really doing anything. But we have to go into all those feelings and let them be, and really feel them. And that's just the process, the natural process we've talked about. It's a natural process, but the way it works is the energy is there, and you feel it intensely, and it's painful and it's work. But then when it releases, when it frees itself, it's not there anymore, and you feel the space. And you know, the more you let that happen, the more space there is, and the more you can just breathe in that space, and not be carrying all this stuff that you don't realize that you're carrying before it goes. That's also funny, is that you have no idea how much junk you're carrying with you day by day, and it's how heavy it is. And just because it's familiar, you think that it's okay for it to be there, but once it starts leaving, and more and more and more leaves, and it's like, oh, I can breathe, and it's light, and I don't have to carry all this stuff. And that's when you start noticing the peace. Yeah, like you said, it was always there, but it's impossible to notice it, to really feel it.
Mm, that's great. And I've been in this, I don't know, 12, 13 years, and there is still stuff coming up. It's amazing. And I think, wow, how I didn't see this before. Oh my God. So it's a gift that keeps giving.
Hmm. Yeah, amazing.
Mm.
And I mean, it's the universe. We're discovering the universe literally through our own experience. So of course it never ends, right? It's like there's always something new to discover, and it's just infinite.
Yeah. So
Crazy, right?
the beautiful ride in this wonderland. And I would say lucky those that have that bug for truth or awakening call.
Yeah.
It's like life saying, knock, knock. Are you ready? Go for a ride. Let's go. And once you're on the ride, you can't step off it. You may take a pause, maybe a year or two, but it comes back. That bug is there. And just following that call, that inner longing for peace. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the best compass. Like just follow that. Just follow that inner longing. It knows the way.
Hmm.
It's not what you hear, what you read. That can help. That can help show you or make you aware of something. Uh, that's part of the path. But the actual compass is always inside you. It's always there. So that's where you need to keep looking, not outside, not in the books, not in the videos, not. You can listen to that, you can read that. That's good. That can help, but that is never ever going to replace or be even close to the actual compass in your path, which is this longing or this thing, whatever. You don't even need to put a name on it, but you feel it. And
Hmm.
that you feel that thing inside you that feels kind of interesting. Just keep feeling that, and it will show you the way.
Wow. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Ilona.
What a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for inviting me. This was a nice chat, and I hope that it can help someone. You never know.
Yes. Thank you.